Commander Vexthral's crystalline form shimmered with anxiety as he stared at the display screen. The Galactic Council monitoring station hummed with unusual activity. 20 different species filled the command center, all watching the same impossible data. "The silence keeps spreading," said Lieutenant Cora, a Mindari telepath whose blue skin pulsed with concern. Another 3 sectors just went dark. Vexthral had served in the Council Defense Fleet for 60 cycles. He had seen stellar collapses, pirate raids, and even ancient weapon systems activating. But he had never seen anything like this. FTL communication networks were failing across an entire corridor of space. Ships sent to investigate simply disappeared. "What are our theories?" the commander asked, though he already knew the answers would not comfort him. A Croatian officer, his armor plates clicking nervously, spoke up. "Natural stellar phenomena. Perhaps a cascade of gravitational distortions. We have seen unusual readings near that region before." "Too precise," Cora interrupted. "The pattern is too clean. This is not natural." The emergency council assembled within hours. Representatives from all major species gathered in the Grand Chamber. The Vexari brought their best scientists. The Mindari sent their most powerful telepaths. The Croatian Empire dispatched 3 of their war masters. Everyone needed answers. High Chancellor Mordata, a wise old being from the ancient Selenar race, called for order. "We have lost contact with 17 systems. 43 ships. Over 2 million souls. What do we know?" "Very little, Chancellor," Vexthral reported. "The silence moves in a straight line. It started at the edge of known space and moves inward. Whatever causes this, it travels fast. Could it be the Void Wraiths?" someone suggested. Nervous whispers filled the chamber. The Void Wraiths were ancient enemies, creatures of energy that fed on living beings. "No," said a Mindari elder. "I sense no darkness, no hunger. This is something different. Something we have not encountered before." Then the alarm sounded. A shrill noise that made everyone freeze. The main display lit up with new data. Long-range sensors had detected something at the edge of the silent zone. "Single vessel," the sensor operator reported, "moving at impossible speed. The signature is primitive. Chemical propulsion. Fusion reactor. It reads like something from ancient times." Vexthral felt his crystalline body go cold. "Show me the origin point." The display zoomed out, tracing the vessel's trajectory backward through space. The line cut through the silent sectors, back to a small yellow star at the edge of mapped space. A star the Council had marked with warning beacons 200 years ago. "Sol," Vexthral whispered. "The Death World." The chamber erupted in panic. Species that rarely showed fear began backing away from the display. The Croatians, proud warriors who feared nothing, reached for their weapons. Everyone knew the stories. Everyone remembered the decision. 2 centuries ago, the Council had made first contact with a species called humans. They came from a world of crushing gravity, deadly weather, and violent evolution. Their planet had shaped them into something the galaxy had never seen. They were strong, aggressive, and dangerously clever. The Council had debated for weeks and made a decision. Humanity was too dangerous. They would be quarantined in their own system, cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Automated stations had monitored the Sol system for decades. Then, one by one, they went dark. The Council assumed the humans had destroyed themselves. No one bothered to check. No one wanted to know. "They broke the quarantine," High Chancellor Mordata said, his voice heavy with dread. "After all this time, the humans are coming." A young council member, barely experienced in galactic politics, raised a tentacle. "Why does one ship silence entire sectors? How is that possible?" Cora, the Mindari lieutenant, closed her eyes in concentration. "They are not silencing communications. They are making us deaf. The ship emits something that disrupts our technology. It is like they are saying, 'You will not see us coming until we choose to be seen.'" Vexthral pulled up the ancient records, files that had been buried and forgotten. First contact reports, biological assessments, psychological profiles. His hands trembled as he read. Humans could survive injuries that would kill most species. They healed from wounds that should be fatal. Their world had gravity that would crush a Vexari. Their oceans contained enough salt to poison a Mindari. Their predators could kill with ease, and humans had dominated them all. "What have we done?" someone whispered. The Croatian War Master, a veteran of 1,000 battles, studied the data. "This ship. How large is it?" 3 kilometers long. Mass indicates heavy armor and dense construction. The War Master's face went pale. In Croatian terms, that was barely a cruiser. But the humans had built it to travel between stars. They had made it survive whatever lived in the dark void. They had made it strong. How long until it reaches Council space? The Chancellor asked. At current speed, 12 days. 12 days. The Council had 12 days to prepare for the arrival of a species they had locked away and tried to forget. 12 days to face the consequences of their fear. Vexthril looked at the display one more time. The single point of light moving through space, leaving silence in its wake. The humans were not invading. They were announcing their presence. They were making the galaxy remember, and in that moment Commander Vexthril understood. The humans had not forgotten the Council. They had not forgiven the quarantine. But they had not come for war. Not yet. They had come to talk. And somehow that was more terrifying than any invasion. The Council archives were deep beneath the main chamber. Few visited these halls anymore. Ancient data crystals lined the walls, containing the memories of 10,000 years of galactic history. Today, those halls filled with desperate researchers. Historian Pelnara, a scholar who had spent her entire life studying first contact events, moved through the stacks with purpose. Her assistants followed, carrying scanning equipment. Find everything on Terra. Find everything on the humans. We need to understand what we are dealing with. The first reports were 200 years old. Galactic survey ship Wanderer had detected unusual radio signals coming from a system in the outer rim. They went to investigate and found something remarkable, a blue world rich with life orbiting a yellow star. But it was not the planet that surprised them. It was the life upon it. Pelnara read the ancient words, her hands shaking. Planet designated Terra, mass 1.0 galactic standard. Gravity 1.0 standard. These numbers seem normal, she said to her assistant. But look at the next part. The report continued with a list that grew more alarming with each line. Atmospheric oxygen levels were dangerously high. The oceans contained salt that would kill most known species. Temperature variations were extreme, swinging from freezing to boiling across different regions. Weather systems regularly produced storms that could destroy entire cities. The tectonic plates shifted constantly, causing earthquakes that split the ground open. And life thrives here? The assistant asked in disbelief. Not just thrives, Pelnara replied. Life dominates. Look at the predator density. There are hundreds of species that exist only to kill and eat other species. The humans call them animals. They live alongside them. The biological reports were even more troubling. The dominant species called themselves humans. They walked on two legs, stood about 2 meters tall, and had surprising strength. Medical scans showed dense bone structure, powerful muscles, and a healing factor that seemed impossible. Their bodies could fight off diseases that would kill a Vexari in hours. They could survive without food for weeks. Their minds were sharp, creative, and dangerously adaptable. But it was the psychological profile that had frightened the Council most. Pelnara found the report written by contact specialist Vornath, a Mindari who had studied the humans from orbit for months. She read his words aloud. These beings are unlike anything in our records. They form strong social bonds but also engage in tribal warfare. They create beautiful art but also design weapons of terrible power. They show great compassion for the weak but celebrate violence in their entertainment. They are contradictions. They are dangerous. The first contact team had landed in a region the humans called Geneva. They chose it because a large gathering of human leaders was taking place there. The humans called it the United Nations. They met with representatives from dozens of human nations, each with different languages, customs, and histories. The talks had gone well at first. The humans were excited, curious, and eager to learn. They asked 10,000 questions about the galaxy, about other species, about technology and culture. They offered food, music, and friendship. But then the Council made its assessment. And everything changed. Pelnara found the sealed Council decision locked away in the deepest archives. She broke the seal and read. Her face went pale. They knew. The Council knew what this would do. The decision was clear. Humanity was too dangerous. Their world had made them too strong, too aggressive, too unpredictable. If they entered the galaxy, they would upset the careful balance of power. The Croatian Empire might feel threatened. The peaceful species might be overwhelmed. Wars could break out. Chaos could spread, so the Council voted. Humanity would be quarantined. A network of monitoring stations would be placed around their system. They would be allowed to develop alone in isolation, Perhaps in a few thousand years they would be ready. Perhaps they would become more peaceful. Perhaps they would learn to control their violent nature. The human leaders had been informed of the decision in a formal meeting. Pelnara found the recording. She watched as the human representative, a woman named Secretary General Chen, listened to the news. Her face showed no anger, no rage, just a quiet sadness. "We understand," Secretary General Chen had said. "We are disappointed, but we understand your concerns. We hope that one day we can prove ourselves worthy of joining the galactic community." The council ships had left. The monitoring stations were built, and humanity was alone. Pelnara continued reading the reports. For 50 years, the stations sent regular updates. Humanity was progressing slowly. They built space stations. They sent probes to their neighboring planets. They tested weapons but did not use them against each other. They seemed to be following the expected path of development. Then the reports became less frequent. One station went silent, then another. The council assumed technical failures. They assumed the humans were sabotaging the monitoring equipment. They did not investigate. They did not care enough to check. 40 years ago, the last station stopped transmitting. The council noted it in their records and moved on. If humanity destroyed themselves, that solved the problem. If they survived, they were still contained. Either way, the galaxy was safe. But now, sitting in the archives surrounded by forgotten history, Pelnara realized the terrible truth. The stations had not failed. The humans had not destroyed themselves. They had been waiting, building, preparing. She pulled up the biological data again, studying the human specifications with new understanding. On most worlds, gravity was 0.7 standard. Most species evolved in gentle environments. A fall could break bones. A strong wind could knock them over. They built their ships light and fast because heavy construction was difficult. But humans lived at 1.0 gravity. Every day of their lives, they fought against a force that would exhaust other species. They were born strong because weakness meant death. Their ships would be built heavy because they could afford the mass. Their armor would be thick because they could bear the weight. We locked away a species that was already stronger than us. Pelnara whispered. We gave them 200 years to get even stronger. Her assistant pulled up a comparison chart. Croatian soldiers, the finest warriors in the galaxy, trained for years to fight in 0.8 gravity. Fixari could barely move in anything above 0.6. Mindari avoided physical conflict entirely because their bodies were too fragile. Humans were born in 1.0 gravity. To them it was normal. To them it was home. Pelnara sent her report to the council with shaking hands. The document was simple and terrifying. It contained all the old data, all the forgotten warnings, and one new conclusion. We did not quarantine them to protect the galaxy, she wrote. We quarantined them because we were afraid. And now that fear is coming home. The Belthera 9 system was one of the most fortified locations in council space. 12,000 ships orbited the massive station. Defense platforms bristled with weapons. Shield generators powerful enough to protect entire planets hummed with energy. If the humans wanted to fight, the council was ready. But the human ship did not approach with weapons charged. It emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system and simply waited. After an hour, it transmitted a message. Commander Vexthrall listened to the broadcast in the command center. The voice was female, speaking in perfect galactic standard, then repeating the message in 200 other languages. Some of those languages had been dead for thousands of years. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran exploration vessel Indomitable. We come in peace. We wish to speak with representatives of the Galactic Council. We have waited 200 years. We ask for one conversation. The message ended. The human ship continued to wait. No threats, no demands, just patience. High Chancellor More Data convened an emergency meeting. They speak our languages. They know our history. What else do they know? Everything, Historian Pelnara replied. We monitored them for 50 years. They had our stations, our technology, our databases. They have been studying us longer than we studied them. The Croatian War Master slammed his fist on the table. This is a trick. One ship does not travel across the galaxy to talk. They are testing our defenses. We should destroy them now. And if we fail? Vexthrall asked quietly. The silence that followed their ship affected our best technology. What if we cannot destroy them? What if attacking them is exactly what they want? The Chancellor raised a hand for silence. We will talk. Prepare a delegation. We will meet these humans and learn what they want. The meeting took place on a neutral station between the Council fleet and the human ship. The Council sent 50 representatives, including soldiers, diplomats, scientists, and telepaths. They gathered in a large conference room, waiting with growing tension. When the doors opened, 5 humans walked in. They moved with confident grace, their steps steady despite the station's 0.7 gravity. Each wore a dark blue uniform marked with patches and symbols. At the front walked Captain Chen, a woman who appeared to be in her middle years by human standards. Vexthrall studied them carefully. They were not particularly tall by galactic standards. They carried no visible weapons, but something about them set off every survival instinct he possessed. The way they moved, the way they watched everything with calm, calculating eyes. They were predators trying to appear harmless. Thank you for meeting with us, Captain Chen said, her voice pleasant and professional. We have much to discuss. The negotiations began formally. The Council asked about the monitoring stations. Captain Chen explained that humanity had peacefully deactivated them and studied the technology. The Council asked about the silence following the Indomitable. Captain Chen called it a communication suppression field designed to prevent misunderstandings. Misunderstandings? A Vexari diplomat asked. You silenced 17 systems. We wanted your attention, Captain Chen replied calmly. We wanted to ensure you would take our arrival seriously. We did not want to be ignored. As the talks continued, the Council representatives grew more disturbed. Not by what the humans said, but by what they revealed about themselves. A Mindari tried to read Captain Chen's thoughts and recoiled in shock. Your mind. It is like a fortress. How do you maintain such mental barriers? Captain Chen smiled. We have 7 billion people on our homeworld. We learned to keep our thoughts private. Is that unusual? During a break, the humans requested food. They ate in front of the Council representatives, and several species looked away in disgust. The human meals contained proteins that would poison most known life forms, salt concentrations that would kill a Mindari, spices that could burn through Vexari crystalline structure. This is normal food for you? Someone asked in horror. This is actually quite mild, one of the human officers replied cheerfully. We saved the spicy stuff for later. The medical officer requested to scan the humans for basic health assessment. When the results came back, the doctor stared at the data in disbelief. Your bone density, your muscle mass, your immune system. These readings are impossible. You should not be able to function with these specifications. We function fine, Captain Chen said. This is normal for humans. Is there a problem? A Croatian officer, unable to contain his curiosity, asked about human military training. The humans exchanged glances, and one of them, a man introduced as Commander Hayes, answered. Basic training lasts 6 months. Soldiers learn hand-to-hand combat, weapons proficiency, survival skills, and tactical thinking. Those who want specialized roles train for years. We practice in Earth gravity, of course. 1 full standard G. The Croatian officer went pale. His soldiers trained in 0.8 gravity and considered it brutal. The humans trained in conditions that would cripple most species. And your ship? Vexthrall asked carefully. The Indomitable. What class of vessel is it? Captain Chen looked surprised by the question. It is an Explorer-class ship, designed for long-range missions, scientific research, and first contact scenarios. We have 37 ships in this class. Not a warship? The Croatian War Master asked. Oh no, Captain Chen replied, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. The Indomitable is not a warship. We have other vessels for combat, but we did not come here to fight. We came here to talk. The way she said it, the careful distinction she made, sent chills through everyone present. If this was not a warship, what were their actual warships like? As the meeting continued, the humans made their position clear. They wanted the quarantine ended. They wanted formal recognition from the Council. They wanted access to trade routes, diplomatic relations, and a seat at the table. In exchange, they offered knowledge, resources, and most surprisingly, protection. Protection? High Chancellor Mordata asked. From what? From whatever comes next, Captain Chen said quietly. The galaxy is vast. We are all very small. Unity makes us stronger. Isolation makes us vulnerable. We learned that lesson 200 years ago. We hope you have learned it too. The meeting ended without resolution. The Council needed time to discuss. The humans said they would wait. They had waited 200 years. A few more days would not matter. As the human delegation prepared to leave, a young Vexari scientist gathered courage and asked the question everyone was thinking. "Captain Chen, do you hate us? For the quarantine? For leaving you alone?" Captain Chen paused at the door and looked back. Her expression was hard to read. Hate is a waste of energy. We were angry once. We were hurt. But we used that time. We grew stronger. We built things you cannot imagine. We prepared for this day. Now we are here and the past is behind us. What happens next depends on all of us. She left and the council representatives sat in stunned silence. They had expected rage. They had expected demands. Instead, they got something far more unsettling. They got professionalism, courtesy, and the quiet confidence of a species that knew exactly how powerful they had become. 3 days of negotiations produced no agreement. The Croatian Empire refused to accept humanity's demands. They argued that one species, one ship, could not dictate terms to the entire galactic community. The humans remained polite but firm. They would not accept anything less than full membership and equal status. On the 4th day, Warmaster Krell of the Croatian Empire made his move. He stood before the council and declared, "Words mean nothing without strength to support them. I propose a demonstration. Let the humans prove their worth in combat. We will send our finest battle group. They will engage the human ship in simulated warfare. If the humans win, they earn respect. If they lose, they return home and wait another century." The council chamber erupted in argument. Some thought it was barbaric. Others thought it was practical. The Croatians were the finest warriors in known space. If they could defeat the human ship, it would prove humanity was not as dangerous as feared. High Chancellor Mordata looked troubled. "Captain Chen, you do not have to accept this challenge. We can continue negotiations." Captain Chen sat quietly for a moment, then stood. "We accept." "When and where?" Warmaster Krell smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Tomorrow. In the neutral zone between here and the outer rim. My battle group against your single ship, simulated weapons only. First to achieve mission kill conditions wins." "Agreed," Captain Chen said. She did not look worried. She did not look eager. She simply looked ready. The next day, thousands of ships gathered to watch. The neutral zone became an arena. Observation platforms filled with representatives from every major species. This would be the first time anyone had seen humans fight. Warmaster Krell brought his finest ships. 12 heavy cruisers, 30 destroyers, and 50 smaller vessels. Each ship was crewed by veteran warriors who had fought in a dozen conflicts. Their tactics were legendary. Their discipline was perfect. They had never lost a simulated engagement. The Indomitable waited alone, 3 kilometers of dark metal and purpose. The rules were simple. Simulated weapons would register hits on target ships. Enough damage would mark a ship as destroyed. Both sides would follow standard combat protocols. The engagement would continue until one side was eliminated or surrendered. Commander Vexthral watched from the observation platform, his crystalline body tense with anticipation. Beside him, Historian Pelnara held a datapad, ready to record everything. The combat began with Warmaster Krell executing a textbook encirclement. His ship spread out in a perfect sphere around the human vessel. Crossfire patterns overlapped. Escape routes were blocked. Within seconds, the Indomitable was surrounded by 92 enemy ships. "Standard tactics," a military analyst commented. "The humans have nowhere to go. This will be over quickly." Then the Indomitable moved. It did not try to escape. It did not try to break the encirclement. Instead, it accelerated directly toward the nearest group of Croatian ships. "What are they doing?" someone asked. "That is suicide." But it was not suicide. As the Indomitable closed range, it began firing. The simulated weapons lit up space with pulses of energy, but the targeting was wrong. The humans were not aiming for engines or weapons or critical systems. They were aiming for sensor clusters and communication arrays. Within 30 seconds, 6 Croatian destroyers went blind and deaf. They could not see. They could not coordinate. They became obstacles rather than threats. The Indomitable passed through the gap it had created, then reversed course. Now it was behind the encirclement, and the Croatian ships had to turn to reacquire their target. In space combat, turning took time. Time the humans used ruthlessly. Vexthral watched in growing horror as the human ship began executing maneuvers that should not have been possible. It spun on all three axes simultaneously while firing in multiple directions. It used its own weapon discharges to blind enemy sensors. It deliberately took hits on heavily armored sections while protecting critical systems. "They are not fighting to survive," Pelnara whispered. "They are fighting to win." "There is a difference." The Croatian forces tried to adapt. War Master Krell split his formation, attempting to box the human ship in from multiple angles. But the Indomitable anticipated every move. It dropped debris fields that forced enemy ships to slow down. It faked engine damage to lure ships into ambushes. It used the destroyed hulks of eliminated vessels as shields. 20 minutes into the engagement, the Croatians had lost 30 ships. The Indomitable had taken damage, but none of it was critical. The human ship was still fighting at full capacity. War Master Krell tried one final tactic. He ordered all remaining ships to converge on the human vessel simultaneously. Overwhelming force from all directions. Even the humans could not fight 90 directions at once. The Indomitable responded by doing something that froze every observer in shock. It charged its faster-than-light drive. "They cannot jump inside a combat zone," a Vexari admiral said. "The gravity distortions will tear them apart." But the humans did not jump. They fired the drive for exactly 2 seconds, creating a massive burst of exotic radiation. The wave washed over the converging Croatian ships. Every sensor overloaded. Every targeting computer went offline. The enemy fleet was blind. In the chaos that followed, the Indomitable systematically destroyed every remaining enemy ship. The Croatians tried to coordinate by sound alone, tried to use visual targeting, tried everything. But they were fighting blind against an enemy that could see perfectly. 47 minutes after the engagement began, War Master Krell transmitted his surrender. The Indomitable had destroyed his entire battle group without losing a single critical system. The observation platform was silent. No one could speak. No one could process what they had just witnessed. Finally, a Mindari elder spoke. That was their exploration ship. That was not a warship. That was a vessel designed for peaceful research and first contact. Later, in a private meeting, Commander Vex Thrall met with Captain Chen. He had to know. "The tactics you used. The maneuvers. Where did you learn to fight like that?" Captain Chen looked tired. "We had 200 years alone. We spent that time studying every war in our history. Every battle. Every mistake. We learned from all of it. And we prepared for the day we would meet you again. But you destroyed a battle group. An entire battle group of the galaxy's finest warriors." "We use standard meeting engagement protocol," Captain Chen replied. "It is what we teach to cadets in their first year of training. It is how we begin every combat exercise." Vexithral felt his body go cold. Their opening moves. Their basic tactics. That had been their simplest approach. "What are your advanced tactics like?" he asked, not sure he wanted to know the answer. Captain Chen was quiet for a long moment. "I hope you never have to find out, Commander. I truly hope you never have to find out." The next day, the Galactic Council held an emergency vote. The motion was simple. End the quarantine. Grant humanity full membership. Welcome them as equals. The vote was unanimous. Even the Croatians voted yes. War Master Krell himself supported the motion. He had learned what every veteran warrior knows. It is better to have a dangerous ally than a dangerous enemy. The council vote changed everything. Within days, delegations rushed to establish diplomatic relations with humanity. Trade agreements were drafted. Cultural exchange programs were proposed. Everyone wanted to be the first to build bridges with the newcomers. But Captain Chen had one more requirement before the Indomitable would return to Earth. She insisted on a formal ceremony. The council agreed, thinking it would be a simple celebration of new friendship. They were wrong. The ceremony took place in the Grand Assembly Hall. Thousands of beings attended, representing every species in the council. Captain Chen stood at the podium, and behind her stood a holographic display. "Before we move forward," Captain Chen began, "I want you to understand what you did 200 years ago. I want you to see what your fear created." The holographic display activated, showing Earth. The beautiful blue world hung in space, peaceful and inviting. Then the image zoomed out, revealing the Sol system, and the council representatives gasped. Luna, Earth's moon, was covered in massive structures. Railgun emplacements, each capable of firing projectiles at a significant percentage of light speed. thousands of them covering the entire surface. Enough firepower to hold off an entire invasion fleet. We built defenses, Captain Chen said calmly. We assumed you would come back. We assumed you would bring war. The image shifted to Mars, where the ancient Croatian maps showed a barren red desert. Now stood gleaming cities and massive orbital yards. Ships were under construction, hundreds of them. Some were as large as the Indomitable, some were larger. We built shipyards, Captain Chen continued. We learned your technology and improved it. We made it better. We made it stronger. The image shifted again, showing the asteroid belt. What should have been scattered rocks was now a network of stations, weapons platforms, and defensive grids. The entire belt had been militarized. We built fortifications, Captain Chen said. We turned our entire system into a fortress. Because we did not know if you would come in peace or in war, we prepared for the worst. High Chancellor Mordata stood, his voice shaking. How many ships do you have? Captain Chen looked directly at him. In Sol system alone? 2,000 combat-capable vessels, 37 explorers like the Indomitable, 412 dedicated warships. The rest are support, logistics, and defense platforms. The number was staggering. The entire Croatian fleet, the largest military force in known space, numbered 800 warships. Humanity had built a fleet 5 times that size in secret. But that is not all, Captain Chen continued. The holographic display shifted once more, showing distant stars. You quarantined us to Sol. You told us to stay in our system. But you forgot something important about humans. We do not follow rules that we think are unjust. The display lit up with dozens of points of light. Each one was a star system. Each one was marked with human designations. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. 47 colony systems, Captain Chen said over the noise. 19 mining operations. 12 research stations. We broke your quarantine 70 years ago. We did it quietly. We did it carefully. But we did it. We have been expanding while you forgot we existed. Commander Vexthrall felt his world tilting. All this time, while the Council believed humanity was contained, they had been spreading across the stars, building, growing, preparing. War Master Krell stood, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. You have been violating Council law for 70 years. You have been building an illegal empire. Why should we trust you now? Captain Chen turned to face him. Because we are here. Because we came to talk instead of attack. Because we want peace, not war. We could have kept expanding in secret. We could have built in silence until we were strong enough to take whatever we wanted. But we did not. We came to you. We asked for recognition. We offered partnership, she paused, letting her words sink in. You quarantined us because you were afraid. You were afraid of what we might become, and your fear was correct. We did become something powerful. We did become something dangerous, but we also became something you did not expect. We became wise. The chamber was silent. Every being present understood what Captain Chen was saying. Humanity could have been an enemy. They had the strength for it. They had the motivation for it. But they chose a different path. We do not want your territory, Captain Chen continued. We do not want your resources. We want what we have always wanted. Recognition, respect, a place at the table. We want to join the galaxy as equals, not as conquered subjects or distant threats. High Chancellor Mordata stepped forward. And if we had refused? If we had rejected your offer? Captain Chen met his gaze. Then we would have returned to our space. We would have continued developing alone. We would have built our civilization without you. But we would have remembered. And perhaps centuries from now our descendants would have come back, and they might not have been as patient as we are. The threat was implicit but clear. Humanity was offering friendship now. Later might be different. The ceremony concluded with formal documents. The quarantine was officially ended. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Council. Trade routes were opened. Embassies were established. The galaxy had gained a new member. As the Indomitable prepared to depart, Commander Vexthrall requested one final meeting with Captain Chen. They met in a quiet observation room. Looking out at the stars, I have to ask, Vexthrall said. Why did you really come? What do you truly want from us? Captain Chen was quiet for a moment. The galaxy is dangerous, Commander. You know this. The Void Wraiths are real. The ancient weapons still exist. There are threats out there that no single species can face alone. We came because we want allies. We came because we believe in unity. We came because isolation nearly destroyed us, and we do not want to see it destroy others. You could have conquered us, Vexthril said quietly. Your ships, your weapons, your strength. You could have taken what you wanted. Yes, Captain Chen agreed. But conquest is temporary. Empires fall. Fear breeds resentment. We learned this from our own history. We learned it from watching yours. We want something better. We want a galaxy where different species work together, where strength is used for protection, not domination, where the future is built through cooperation, not conquest. She turned to face him. We are strong, Commander. We are dangerous, but we are also hopeful. We believe the galaxy can be better. We believe we can be better. That is why we came. Vexthrall felt something shift inside his crystalline structure. For 200 years, the Council had feared humanity. Now he understood. The humans were not the enemy. They were the wake-up call. They were the reminder that strength without wisdom is useless, that fear without understanding leads to mistakes. What happens now? He asked. Now we build the future together, Captain Chen said. It will not be easy. There will be challenges. There will be misunderstandings. But we will face them as partners, not enemies. We will learn from each other. And perhaps centuries from now, someone will look back and say this was when the galaxy truly became united. 2 days later, the Indomitable departed for Earth. It left behind a permanent embassy and a promise. Humanity would honor the agreements. They would work with the Council. They would be the allies they claimed to be. But the galaxy had changed. The balance of power had shifted. Everyone knew that humans were now a major force. Everyone understood that the Death World species had arrived. 6 months after the Indomitable left, the first human ambassador arrived at the Council headquarters. He was not a diplomat. He was not a scientist. He was a Marine Corps general, decorated with medals from conflicts the Council had never heard of. His name was General Marcus Drake, and he walked into the assembly hall like he owned it. The message was clear. Humanity came in peace, but they came prepared for war. They offered friendship with one hand and kept the other ready. They were the species the galaxy had feared, and now they were part of it. And in the shipyards of Mars, construction began on a new vessel. The Terran Dawn, humanity's first true warship designed for galactic operations. It would be larger than any ship currently in service. It would be faster. It would be stronger. And it would carry a crew of humans who had spent their entire lives preparing for the day they would defend not just Earth, but all the worlds that chose to stand with them. Commander Vexthrall watched the construction reports with mixed feelings. Fear and hope, concern and excitement. The galaxy had gained powerful allies. The question was whether those allies would remain friends or become something else. But as he watched the stars and thought about Captain Chen's words, he decided to choose hope. The humans had come in peace. They had offered partnership. They had proven their strength and their wisdom. Perhaps, just perhaps, the galaxy had not gained a threat. Perhaps it had gained a protector. Time would tell. But for now, the future looked brighter than it had in centuries. The age of isolation was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And somewhere in the void between the stars, more human ships were preparing for the journey. More colonies were being established. More connections were being made. The Death World species had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.